Good evening. Lovely for you to join us this evening for our Wednesday night healing meditation. And so we're going to start our program this evening the way we start everything here at Granada Hills. Oh, by the way, in case you don't know who I am, I'm Reverend Michael McMorrow. I'm the spiritual director here at the Center for Spiritual Living, where we welcome all who practice their beliefs and faith and love. And tonight we are hosting an online meditation healing service, which will have a focus on Passover, as this is the first night of the Passover holiday season. All right, so let's start the way we start everything around here by taking a deep, conscious breath and releasing and allowing ourselves to surrender to this eternal now moment as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. That fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this evening. So we have here lit 10 candles. So the first candle we have lit is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle we have lit is for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here in the sanctuary, out there online, and here in the heart. And we have here lit the healing candle here in the center. And so please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love. And so, just taking a moment of prayer to set the tone for the evening. So let's take a deep breath and claim this moment as our own, this eternal now moment, as we know together that there's but one thing going on here, one power, one presence, one source, one life of the divine, impressing and expressing itself in, through, and as this manifest universe. In, through, and as all of life, in, through, and as all beings, So in this way, we understand and know that there is no spot where God is not. Therefore, right where I sit, right where I stand, dwells the indwelling Spirit. And so as we connect to this deep truth within ourselves, that we allow ourselves this moment to reflect on what it is we want to bring forward through means of this healing meditation here tonight. That I know for each one of us that we are expressions of divine consciousness, and in this way then we have within us this indwelling pattern of perfection. And so through this meditation time here this evening, that we are in a very conscious and mindful way connecting with this indwelling pattern, that we are allowing ourselves to align with it in ways of a peaceful abiding, of harmony, of serenity, of aligning at the deepest levels of our being with ways of being radiantly healthy. That we are open and receptive in a mental way to new and creative ideas, and opening our heart to have a deeper experience of the divine at a heart level by means of this time spent this evening. And so having set this intention, and including the intentions of anyone watching, that we now take a deep breath and release. And in that release, we know we are releasing to that aspect of the mind of the divine itself that knows only to say yes. Yes, my beloved, yes. In you I am well pleased, and so it is. So as I get settled here, I invite you to also settle yourselves. Get any wiggles or jiggles out of the way. And so one of the an important aspect of meditation, of course, is setting the seat. And so I like to, just because this is the way it's developed, there's no right or wrong way. For some folks out there, you'll be able to sit in a lotus position on the floor, which is amazing. Or you may be sitting on a meditation cushion. However you're sitting, just find the idea is to be grounded and anchored so that we can sit comfortably for probably 20 minutes of silence or so, and through this short Passover observance that I wanted to share with you this evening. So here at the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, we do honor all faith traditions. And Passover, of course, is the story of the Hebrew people being led by Moses out of bondage in Egypt to find the promised land. Now, a lot of things happened, in preparation for that, and then, of course, in leaving Egypt and then finding their way to Canaan, which took some 40 years, we're told, in the biblical story. So I thought it might be interesting, and I'm just going to skip over it because it's a lengthy meditation. But if you go online to the Jewish magazine and look up, hang on here, you can look up the Jewish meditation. Oh, look at this. It printed blank pages. So anyway, in 2007, there's an article in there by last name of Alani, and it's in March of 2017. It's called A Jewish Meditation. And it's a wonderful little primer of the Exodus story, but it's told from perspective as a contemplative or a guided meditation for Jewish people to imagine themselves as one of these ancient Hebrews preparing to go on this big trip, and to imagine yourself that you are one of these Egyptian slaves. And of course, as people who are members of the Jewish tradition, so this is an ancestral memory for them, right? So imagining themselves being the slave, getting the news that Moses is going to deliver them from bondage, to prepare to slaughter a lamb, to prepare to eat and take the blood of that lamb and mark the doorposts, or face serious repercussions. And then that night, imagining that night as this ancient Hebrew, and hearing the screaming and the wailing of their Egyptian neighbors as they lose their firstborn son, and the relief and the blessing and also the terror that would be like. And then, of course, if you remember, the Egyptians gave them the finest of what they had, the Hebrews, on their way out. They couldn't get them out of there fast enough, right? And so this Jewish meditation then takes the meditator through each one of these stages of this Exodus experience. Now, for those of us who have a metaphysical bent and understanding of things, that we can see that this Passover story is a wonderful metaphor for the ways that we prepare ourselves to pass over from one state of consciousness into the next. And that sometimes, like the Hebrews of old, we are met with serious challenges. So they may not be toads or rivers of blood or locusts, but certainly there can be locusts of resentment chewing away at our brain time that would be better spent in more productive things. And certainly all of us can relate to this idea of particularly now in this really strange and bizarre time of this COVID virus making itself known. And boy, there's just so many metaphysical spins that we could put on this, but just staying in this realm of effect for a moment, just how confusing and somewhat frightening, certainly alarming, and for those who've tested positive, then, right, so let this cup pass over me kind of thing. And then for those who succumb to the disease itself, which is just now starting to hit our county, you know, the pain and the grief and the loss that's contained within that. And then also, of course, the gratitude of the many people who continue to work through this so that the rest of us can live. I was just at Trader Joe's today, where these people, working diligently at staying safe, but also keeping everything stocked and making sure people have a shopping experience that is safe, where they can find everything and then safely exit the building and make their way home. So there's a lot of stuff like this going on. People stepping up and making masks, because now we're to have our masks on. Which, by the way, I wanted to show my designer mask, but I forgot I have my microphone on, so this doesn't really work very well. So. But pretty slick, right? So thank you, Stephanie, for making that for me. So anyway, we can think of all the ways that certainly this Passover for Gentiles and Jews alike has a special meaning for us here in America at this time. Well, throughout the world, really, at this time, as we are knowing that this, through the use of consciousness, in our alignment with the infinite power and presence of the divine, that we are building a consciousness of immunity that keeps us safe, so that this situation may pass over us, and that all of us together then may emerge into maybe even to a world that is shifted and lifted in a new way that is much more sustainable than maybe up until now. All right, so enough of that. Let's do some meditating. So for our friends from the Jewish tradition, happy Passover. And so let's just start by taking a deep breath. Release. And in that release, we're just allowing ourselves to settle and to surrender the physical body and we're going to bring our attention to the breath. And what does this mean then? So we're paying attention to the movement of the breath right here in the nostril. So that can feel like movement, pressure, temperature, doesn't matter. The idea is that we're just bringing our attention to the movement of the breath. And as we do that, we see the mind begins to settle. And as the mind begins to settle, we do a quick scan of the body, bringing our attention first to the soles of our feet. And then just staying with the breath and scanning our attention up the leg, to the knees, the hamstrings, top of the thigh. Well, sometimes we can torque that knee a little bit, and if that's so, just make a little adjustment and then just take a deep breath and return back to focusing on the breath. So And then we bring our attention to our sit bones. To the tummy, which is just rising and falling easily. No tension. Into the lower back. Sometimes we can carry a lot of tension in our lower back. If you just tip your tailbone in underneath a little bit, that'll release that. And so with a spine held erect without tension, breathing easily and naturally, releasing any tension in the arms, in the hands, and so we're going to take a deep breath and hold it at the top, and on the exhale we're going to allow the shoulders to drop and the neck to lengthen just a bit, free of tension, of course. Taking a deep breath together. Release. Returning to the breath. Now, as you focus on the breath, see if you can deepen your attention to the movement of the breath on your upper lip. So if we find ourselves where a thought arises, we just observe it as thinking and then just release it. Let it go. Like a leaf on a stream is just easily carried away. Nothing to do. And should we get hooked by a thought and find ourselves hooked on a thought thread, we can just take a deep breath and release, and then just return our attention back to the movement of the breath in the nostrils. So taking a deep breath one more time together, releasing as we now move into the silence for about 20 minutes. back into the room, but staying with the breath. Let's work with this space that we've created. Imagining with me that there is at the center of your heart space the flame of the divine itself. And now with each breath, each in-breath, we're fanning that flame. And with each in-breath, we are breathing in the Spirit commingling with itself. And expelling love. So breathing in light, the light of the divine. Exhaling love. So let's create a field of love together, shall we? So with each in-breath, this flame now, this becomes a ball of light. Chi, if you like. With each in-breath, it's expanding, rising and falling with each in-breath and in each exhale. And we're breathing in light, exhaling love. Breathing in light, exhaling love. So this globe of light now, brilliant in its radiance, that only illuminates, does not consume, enlightens, so that this globe of light now extending beyond our torso, side to side, front to back, top to bottom, staying with the breath, breathing in light, exhaling love. That we are now sitting in this field of light and love. Staying with the breath. And knowing even in consciousness now that we are connecting with each other through this field, through the infinite field of that which knows only love and nothing else. And so in this field of light and love now, we bring our cares, concerns, our sorrows, our joys. We're just releasing them onto that field as we know together there is but one power, one presence, one light, one love, infinite in nature, impressing and expressing itself in, through, and as all of existence, in, through, and as all that we are. And so as we consider our unity with this divine one, we know that at every level of our existence, there is a pattern of perfection with which we are aligning even now. That at a molecular level, that we are now oming, vibrating with this pattern of perfection, that we are vibrating with the eternal Om of the divine itself, that this resonates at a molecular level into a cellular level, into this vibration of healing and alignment and this pattern of perfection making itself known through every molecule, every cell, every organ, every muscle, every bone, every neuron, every aspect of our circulatory system, all the various biological systems of the body temple are aligning with this pattern of perfection and aligning with the truth of their being, which is that all is well. That in this moment we know, and our faith is that same faith we have in knowing that a cut finger is healed, that we know that every aspect of the body temple is now healed, is restored to wholeness, and that anything unlike itself is easily and naturally repelled. That our very respiratory system itself is refreshed and restored and revitalized through the respiration of the light of the Spirit with the body temple, that we are re-inspired with every breath to know and express the divine as radiant good health at every level of our being. We breathe in the life of God, and the life of God sustains us. That our mind is now open to new and creative and dynamic ideas that provide the solution to any challenge or circumstance that may up until now have kept us baffled or confused in some way, that we are seeing clearly the solution that is already in place. We take a deep breath, and in this breath, the heart opens, that we allow the sacred heart of the divine itself to express itself freely and easily as relationships that are harmonious, peaceful, and serene, that have a sense of deep connection and joy and an intimate, heartfelt space. That we are knowing not only this connection within our more intimate relationships, but we recognize that this is all divine activity. So we bring this into our working relationships as well. Even as we are now becoming more fully connected in this unseen realm known as the internet, we know that there is a deeper authority behind all of that, and that is the infinite power and presence and grace of the divine itself expressing. And so taking a deep breath, we release this word and the cares and concerns held within the hearts of all watching, recognizing and knowing that as we make this release, we are releasing it unto the highest forms of mind, that aspect of the mind of the divine itself that knows only to say yes. Yes, my beloved, yes. And so then in this release, then we know that we step forward with a consciousness that has been shifted and lifted. We have been raised. And in this way, when we hit the pillow tonight, we drift off easily to sleep, sleeping deeply and restfully, dreaming sweet dreams, awakening feeling refreshed and restored and revitalized, full of a vim and vigor and an excitement for life, even as we practice the consciousness of good public health through Safe at Home. So we are joyously safe at home, that we are safe at home in serenity, peace, and in harmony. This is the new order of our life. And so once again, we take a deep breath. And in confidence and in deep gratitude, we release once again, knowing that and remembering the many things that we are grateful for, the many ways and ways large and small in which our lives are all being supported by others, as we are supporting others in the ways that we are called to be. So in this place of gratitude now, we're just releasing all of it now. One more breath, why not? Release. We're releasing all of it to its divine unfoldment, knowing it is done, it is complete, and together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So thank you for joining me tonight. We got off to an odd start there when my pages weren't printed, but hey, that's the way it goes sometimes, right? So man plans and God laughs. So this Sunday, of course, is Easter Sunday, celebrating now in the most joyous and yet physically distant way. So we will continue to do this with Reverend Nancy and myself. And Ken will be here with Jason, of course. And we're very blessed to have Evan and Mike. And of course, we're all spread out from each other. And we'll be wearing masks this week, but not during the service, of course. But we will be practicing, as we have throughout this adventure, been practicing social distancing, and while you are staying safe at home. So in this way, we really are building immunity for our spiritual community. And so, and then let me just say, as spiritual director, I'm very appreciative of your continued financial support, which of course is very much needed, and that many of you are embracing the online giving, and of course, and continuing to mail in your donations as well. So we appreciate all that. I'd also like to draw your attention to peruse throughout our YouTube channel now. Sherry Gideons has archived it now to where you can find some fun things on there. You may find Thoughts on Talks entertaining. I don't know. I'll leave that to you. You can leave a comment if you will. And of course, our Sunday services are archived, and a lot of the music, as well as our various practitioners. And so if you're new to the channel, I would encourage you to reach out to us. Drop us an email at admin@cslgh.org, I believe is listed on the channel there, but you can contact me direct at revmike@cslgh.org. If you need prayer support, we got lots of folks here to support you in prayer. And you are not alone, and you do not have to walk through this alone. All right? Okay, so enough out of me. It's time for bed, right? All right, so peace and blessings, and stay strong, and we'll see you Sunday, huh? All right, peace and blessings. Bye now.